Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for Friday, January 31st. We're talking the Super Bowl side totals and a lot of prop action with the man that's putting up a lot of exotic props here. He's responsible for a lot of them. You'll see in the mainstream some of these, J-Lo and how long the National Anthem will go. We got some, will Cleavage be shown during the halftime show? We're going to ask him all of that. Talking to Mr. Dave Mason from Bet Online. Dave, welcome to the pod. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me, Drew. Great to be here.
Dude, great to have you, man. This is a huge time for Bet Online right now, right? Would you say this is the biggest weekend of the year, or would March Madness be bigger, or another weekend I'm not thinking of?
Probably for signups and stuff like that, and probably there. I mean, NFL Week 1's more important because, at Super Bowl, you get a lot of people come in, bet the game, then they're gone, right? But NFL Week 1's more important. It kind of rivals it, and it's more important because then that dictates your season. You know what I mean? You can get those guys back for Week 2, Week 3, Week 4, all the way up to the Super Bowl, hopefully. So, the biggest sign-up weekends are, NFL Week 1, Super Bowl, March Madness, Kentucky Derby's right up there. Those are probably the big four, but as important as importance, it's without a doubt NFL Week 1.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And we're talking with Dave Mason from Bet Online. Dave, let's just start off here. Side and total action. What we're seeing, -1.5. That's the Chiefs laying in Miami Gardens for the Super Bowl Sunday night. Sidewise, are you guys seeing anything you think you need to throw out there to the listeners?
We have it right now -1. We opened at the official opener is -1.5. We actually had to look at headlines at -2.5 when we knew the final participants in the Super Bowl. We reopened at -1.5, and it went down to -1. That's where it's been for a while. Bounced back up and back and forth from -1.5 for a little bit, but it's been -1 for a bit now. And spread bettors are on Kansas City. About 64% of the spread money is on Kansas City minus that one. Nothing sharp at all yet. The sharps have not even shown their face yet on the spread at all at Bet Online.
Okay, and what about total action? Seeing you guys hanging a 54, which is kind of the low water mark. There's other sports books out there at 54 in the hook. Seeing any action totals wise?
Yeah, we're seeing a ton. I mean, that's going to be a huge decision. Everybody's on the over. We were at 54.5, and we just went to 54. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I'll check it out, and if it's sharp, I'll release it on Twitter. But we think that sharps are going to be on the under. 80% of the money, 82% of the money is on the over, so we're going to need that under big time.
Okay, yeah, and follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Mason BOL. Also myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. And Dave, man, I guess overall, the prop action is what everybody likes to talk about. Everybody likes to hear about for whatever reason. What would you say the percent of money bet on the side, bet on the total, and then all the props kind of added together? Where would you say you take most of your action there at Bet Online?
Well, spread's always king, right? No matter what. Then you got the money line and the total right behind that, and there's a little bit more money on the money line than the total. And by the way, speaking of the money line, whereas the spread bettors are on the Kansas City, the money line bettors are on 49ers. So we got kind of a little two-way action there. So that's a little kind of interesting with that 1-point spread, whereas 49ers bettors are taking that +1 and 2 instead of the +1 -105. But props, I mean, during a regular season, a regular NFL game, probably like 5% of the money's on the props. But for Super Bowl, I mean, you're upping it to probably about 40% of the money's on the props. Of course, the bet count is out of there's no comparison. I mean, there's so many props, and the limits are lower. And, this person's only going to bet the spread once, but they'll bet 20 props. But, since the limits are so higher and it's the more, the common bet, the spread, total money line, et cetera, that takes most of the action. But props, I mean, 40% is a lot of volume. So it's a big money maker on the Super Bowl. It's not only good for PR and get people in the door, but it's a money maker too, or a money loser. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure, man. And going back over past years, is the Super Bowl kind of weekend, both side, total, props, everything you're taking, I'm guessing there's more winners than losers, but is every single year a winner for the sports book for Bet Online, or no? Some years you actually lose money.
Oh God, there's some losing weekends. I mean, shoot, that Atlanta Falcons disaster. When was that?
Oh
Three
yeah.
years ago. That was
Oh yeah.
disgusting. That was disgusting. So that was a loser. Then you date back to Giants outright win over the Patriots. What year was that? 2008ish. Whenever that was. Well, I forget the year.
Yeah.
2008, 2009. I'm off by a year maybe, but that was a big one because people bet the Giants money line so much that wasn't a good weekend for the books. But besides that, yeah, winners, mostly winners. Some winners are big, some winners are small. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Well, Dave, let's get to some of these props and follow him on Twitter at Dave Mason BOL, the guy responsible for a lot of these kind of exotic props that you'll hear about a lot of people talking about in the mainstream. I guess just top of the board here at Bet Online going down. Halftime specials, either Shakira or J-Lo. Will they have side boob? No, minus 180. Yes, plus 140. Dave, have it this one.
How about this one? I thought about it the other day. You know, I'm the origin. I'm the inventor and the originator of the cleavage prop. You know, years back when Beyonce did the halftime show, I thought I was watching some videos and thought, you know what? There's something's popping off the screen at me here while I was watching YouTube videos of Beyonce, and I was like, we need a cleavage prop, and it took off. People love it, so that's a yearly tradition to all our loyal bettors. They can bet the cleavage prop. So this year is like, you know, and you know, I live in Latin America, and side boob is rampant down here. It's awesome. So I thought let's do some let's look at some side boob action, and I think side boob's the new cleavage. So. But you know, let's not discriminate. Let's throw some side boob in there, and I don't think there's going to be side boob. I think minus 180 on no side boob is good value personally, but people are betting yes. 76% of the bettors are on yes. So,
Okay, so yes at plus 140 is where most of the action is, but you actually think the sharp side might be minus 180 on the no Shakira or J-Lo side boob, huh, Dave?
Yeah, you know, since I'm the originator of all these props, I'm going to be self-proclaimed sharp boob odds better. So I'm going to say minus 180 is the sharp side. Yes, I am.
All right, and then like the cleavage that you were just talking about in terms of, well, I guess you have it in a couple different ways. The second prop that you have on your website, we got who will show cleavage during performance ? You have both. You have J-Lo only. You have Shakira only, and you have neither showing cleavage at plus 550. Dave, I kind of like neither showing cleavage at plus 550 just because like bodysuits are in. I was talking with Minty Beth. She was saying, you know, J-Lo is probably going to be wearing a bodysuit, so that would cross her off. And then, you know, Shakira, maybe not. I guess you would have more insight on that. What kind of action are you taking here? Will either show cleavage during the halftime performance?
Yeah, well, that's the cleavage double result. You know, it's always been yes, no, will the performer have cleavage? But since we have two beautiful young ladies performing the halftime show, we're going to include them both. So that's a double result right there, kind of sort of, I guess. But so both. Surprise is getting the most action by far. I mean, people want that cleavage. I guess they're betting on cleavage, and I kind of like J-Lo only. I looked at they had the press conference yesterday, and J-Lo came out with cleavage, a nice outfit that's very flattering and very nice, and Shakira came out with a big old dumpy T-shirt. Now that doesn't mean it can't change, but that's how I see it going. So if I'm betting this, I'm betting J-Lo only. But no, Minty makes some good points. But there's bodysuits that show cleavage, aren't there?
I believe there probably is. Yeah, it's 2020 and the way fashion's gone. Yeah, it's not really my expertise here, Dave.
Well, maybe we should get her on the next pod. We need, I don't know. I like J-Lo only.
All right, so J-Lo only might be worth a shot here, guys, at Bet Online. We got another one here, and I haven't seen this one of late. I'm guessing this just has something to do with who's singing in the halftime performance, but halftime specials here. Will J-Lo show butt cleavage? No, minus 400. Yes, plus 250, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, what needs to be said? Well, she showed butt cleavage. We all know she has some wonderful assets, and she's famous for not only her talent, but, And taking the cleavage stuff to the next level here in 2020 at Bet Online. So, she had butt cleavage. I think it's self-explanatory. Somebody asked me the other day, "What's butt cleavage?" I was like, "Dude, just go Google plumber's cracking and picture J-Lo's face on the dude's body." So that's pretty much butt cleavage, plumber's crack, right? You need skin. You need skin to win, and a definite separation of each the west and east butt cheek.
Okay, so that's the definition for butt cleavage. We appreciate that, Dave. And also want to give a shout out here to at James T. Wade on Twitter. He asked the question. He watched the video that Minty and I did on our bets for the props. And he asked the question, who will determine what is considered cleavage for the books? Isn't that relative to the individual? And he's talking about normal cleavage, not butt cleavage there, Dave. I believe
Right.
You're the one that will decide. And if you could have a crack at maybe what you're looking for to define yes or no on that cleavage prop.
Yeah, myself and Burns, who's our head props guy at Bet Online. Burns is his Twitter. We'll discuss it. There's a lot of and that guy who asked that question is right. And a lot of this stuff is gray area. So, I always tell people, if you don't want to bet it, if you think, don't bet it. You know what I mean? But here's the definitions for the cleavage. Both must perform for action. Book manager's decision is final. Must clearly see separation of the breast. Skin must be visible. So there you have it. We did have some controversy the first year we did this. We didn't really word it properly. We refer to it as Cleavage Gate, and we just ended up paying both sides winners, just dusted it off, and both sides won. So, sure, there's gray area in a lot of these exotic props. So, we'll make the fairest decision possible. We're not out there hoodwinking people at all, but always read those rules, too.
Okay, appreciate that, Dave, and appreciate the definition, and also Bet Online doing the right thing with Cleavage Gate a few years back and paying both sides. Could that be a situation where you would look to do that again this year, either with the cleavage pop or some other situation where there's gray area, like you were saying in some of these exotics? Do you think you might have to do that again this year?
Oh, who knows? I mean, there's so many of these things, and you just don't know what's going to happen. There's always some controversial. We've paid out both sides many times. Last year, we paid out both sides on the National Anthem over under. We didn't word it properly, and we worded it like some other books worded it instead of worded it the way we always worded it. Okay. And because of that, we worded it like after the first brave or something. She said like 3 braves. So technically the undercover, but people were confused. They didn't read the wording, and we didn't think it was fair that, you know what I mean? So we said, screw it. Everybody wins. We got it stuck up our yin yang for 6 figures on that, but it's, it was the right thing to do. So hopefully not, because I hate getting every Monday morning after the Super Bowl, I log on and the customer service manager is saying, has all these some tickets, hey, they're arguing that wasn't clear. It's kind of funny, but it isn't. You know what I mean? This customer service manager getting so pissed off at me about people arguing about cleavage and no cleavage and butt cleavage and this and that, the other thing with these tickets. And so we don't want any of that. We don't want to put stress on our customer service. We want our players happy. If it's black or white or semi-black and white, we're grading it. But again, if you're going to bet these things, read the wording. And if you don't like it, if you think there's too many loopholes or whatever, don't bet it. There's plenty of other ones that are going to show up in stats on ESPN. That's a definite 100%, done deal.
Okay, well said there, Dave. On Twitter, at Dave Mason BOL. Dave, just kind of a question off the top here, talking about kind of qualifications for a man of your position, making these decisions, putting out these props. Other than, drinking cervezas in a coastal town somewhere in Central America, looking at beautiful Latina women, what really qualifies you for this job, man? You got a great job that a lot of the listeners out there I know would probably like to have.
Oh, absolutely nothing. I went to college, but I don't remember studying any of this in college. I think it's just, years. I really don't. probably too many beers, and you start drinking beers and start thinking of weird ideas and trying to push the envelope with a bunch of these ideas. But no, I really I'm not qualified at all to. I don't know, man. It's the cleavage or it's not cleavage. I think any red-blooded American male can do this job, to tell you the truth.
No, well, great stuff. And, who would have thought there's a demand out there for people to put money on if Cleavage will be shown during the halftime and how long the national anthem will go. People would think you're not qualified, but heck, you're the guy coming up with this. So hats off to you, Dave. Now, what about some of these props in terms of, the color of liquid poured on the winning head coach? We got purple, we got red, lime, clear, orange, blue. I'm seeing the favorite at purple plus 100. I wouldn't have thought of that off the top of my head. And blue at plus 1,000. You seeing any action here on what color liquid will be poured on the winning coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this one was a big story 2 days ago, and it still is a story. Purple was the 14-1 long shot on this prop, and 2 days ago now. We started getting some interesting action coming in on purple, and we dropped it to about 5-1. And about an hour later, one of my contacts hit me up and told me that he has from a good source. And again, these things are nowhere near definite, so this doesn't mean go bet it to your listeners. But a source that one of the teams, if not both the teams, have agreed to be dumped purple on the winning coach for a tribute to Kobe Bryant. So, I mean, it got steamed. People bet the heck out of it. That's the only one we have a liability on. The other ones are all winners for us. Again, it doesn't take a lot of bets at 14-1 to rack up a big negative figure for us. So that's the story behind that. Other books closed it. They want nothing to do with it. Some horrible books no-actioned it, which is absolutely horrible. But action stands at betonline.ag. Bring it on. I don't know what to think about the rumor because the source is decent, but I'm looking at that red at plus 275, and I think I kind of like that, to tell you the truth. We'll see.
Okay, you're liking the.
And I've never won a Gatorade prop ever. Just to let you know, I'm the worst Gatorade liquid handicapper in the face of the earth. So but I'm gonna go with red. I'm gonna ignore the rumors and go with red.
And Dave, I mean, you bring up a situation where, heck, it could be a rumor. It could be inside information. You really don't know. I don't know if anybody out there really knows other than maybe the originator of this so-called, information on what color liquid will be poured on the winning coach. Does this stuff happen a lot in your industry, putting out these type of props where is it true, is it not? And you have to kind of figure that out.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, a great example, a lot of people are comparing this to was last year at the Oscars. I think it was Best Director. There was a long shot. I can't even remember his name. I think it's Yorgos or something. He's like 33-1, 35-1. And another book took real bizarre action on him. I mean, it was like 5 accounts opened from the same town on the same day. They all bet the max limit on that. So as a bookmaker, when you see stuff like that, you're thinking, okay, information's out. So the guy just tweeted it, and all of a sudden, and we were getting hit too. And we got hit, and everybody's getting hit. And odds are dropping. Books, it's like this. Books are closing the odds. Some horrible books were no actioning it, saying it was bad odds. And it ended up that night, the guy didn't even win. So, I mean,
wow.
And then like last month, the Jeopardy, the GOAT tournament, I got good information that it was previously taped, but it's pretty hush-hush. And then all of a sudden, people are betting Jennings, and we closed it right away, and that one came true. So, yeah, but, stuff like this, that's why, sometimes bettors bust your balls that you have low limits on this stuff. But you have to. If you're taking $1,000 on something like this and there's information out there, or National Anthem, there's some security guard with a stopwatch out during rehearsals. I mean, you got to, that's why you keep them $50, $100. They're more for fun. We're looking to break even at these, let the players bet them. And we're not looking to make big money off of these, but we're definitely not looking to lose big money on these either.
Yeah, no, and that's well said, and it kind of segues into my next question. Like, you have some of your props here are like, will John 3:16 sign be shown in the stands, or will a fan run on the field during the game? And it kind of leads me into the question. I mean, somebody could come into your website, bet that, get a ticket to the game, and run on the field. How much will you let somebody bet on that? Because heck, if you buy a ticket for $500, you spend a night in the Slammer, it's $250 to get out. If you can put a bunch of money on this, heck, it might be worth it.
Yeah, well, he ain't gonna be able to put a bunch of money on. He's gonna win him $100. He's gonna get spend a night in the Slammer. God knows what happens in the Slammer. He's gonna go to court. He's gonna get a fine. He might be on probation. He might get beat up on national TV by a security guard. So, dude, have at it, man. Get drunk and run on the field and bet it. We'll take your action. Good luck in the Slammer.
Oh, man. Dave Mason from Bet Online on Twitter at Dave Mason BOL. Just before we went on, Dave, I saw you send out a tweet saying you've, I guess, frozen action on the National Anthem over under 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Could you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics too much. My head guy just sent me a message literally 5 minutes before you got me on the air. Something like they were betting over, then all of a sudden we moved it up a little bit, then a lot of action came in on the under. So we'll see. I think I have it narrowed down to the time on this intel, but again, who the hell knows? When it comes down to it, who knows? At the end of the day, it's a cat and mouse game, but there's something wacky going on, and I think a competitor, something similar happened there, I noticed. So I think there's info out there.
I love it, Dave, man. Just hearing you guys are just kind of riding by the seats of your pants on some of this is the vibe I'm getting, Dave.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. I'm a marketer. I'm not really an odds maker. I'm more of the marketer. So I love this stuff. So the traditional odds makers, they're asking these, well, what if we lose $200? I'm like, dude, you make a story out of it, and you get in the press, and that's what people love, these storylines. How long can you talk about the spread total money line? It's about these side stories that everybody loves, and they happen every Super Bowl. They're not made up. It's just all this wacky stuff happens. So to me, it's fun. If you lose a few $100 or the National Anthem, I mean, there's so much money on that. You can lose tens of thousands of dollars on it, but we'll see. Burns is going to reevaluate, see what's going on. We're going to reopen it later, and I actually gave him another idea that we might do if we can't reopen that one. So we'll see.
All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate you joining us. Just a couple more questions here. And, guys, just to kind of paraphrase my next question, last year I actually spent the Super Bowl down in Central America, met with Dave, and we were having a beer, and I asked him about what his best bet for all these props was. And he had Giselle to show Cleavage minus 500 on the no, and just went over the fact of whenever she's at a popular event, she never really shows Cleavage. She's really classy, all that sense. And he's like, I should have made it minus 5,000, but Bet Online only had it minus 500. So sure enough, I went in, bet the minus 500 as much as I could. And it was absolutely a winner. When the Patriots scored, one, they showed Giselle, which I bet on they would show Giselle. And then it was obvious she didn't have Cleavage. So thank you for that last year, Dave. It told a lot of people about that. So I know there's listeners out there that are also thanking you for that information. But my follow-up question to that, Dave, is do you have a best bet for the listeners right now? Maybe a situation like that where you're like, man, we should have set this price differently, but because of public perception, we set it at a different price. Do you have a best bet on any of these exotic props?
Well, thanks for giving me props for tipping you a minus 500 winner. I'd like to pat myself on the back on that, but minus 500. With money's money. I like along the same lines. I mean, the odds are similar, but no butt cleavage is minus 400. I think that should be way higher. I just don't see the butt cleavage happen. The regular cleavage is definitely in play, but butt cleavage, I just can't see it happening. I mean, that's kind of rare, and that almost, I think, would border along the lines of a wardrobe malfunction, to tell you the truth. So, but no butt cleavage minus 400. And I'd like yes on they'll show Andy Reid at the punt pass kick competition. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen that video. He was like 14 years old, and he was like 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, with all the other kids up to his waistline, and he's out there in the punt, pass, and kick. So we have that. Will they show that? And the yes is plus 150. So I kind of like that one a little bit, but definitely no on butt cleavage.
Okay, so plus 150. So a little underdog price here on Andy Reid to be shown in punt, pass, and kick, and then also no butt cleavage, kind of the same profile as last year, minus 400. So I'm going to bet both of those. Appreciate that information, Dave. And also, is there anything else? Well, first, I want to ask you, you also are big into, politics betting on Bet Online, and I'm sure maybe other sports books are as well. But just before we end here, did want to ask you, you got Trump minus 130, Field plus 110. Are you taking action on politics? I mainly ask because you could put it on Fox News or CNN, whatever have you. And, people give their opinions, but I actually like to follow on who's going to be, the winner by where people are putting their money. There's no kind of people want to win money. So obviously Trump at minus 130. Are you seeing any action there or on any of the Democrats?
Yeah, I mean, for it's funny for the head-to-head, where we're exposed on Trump against the Field. However, when you look at the futures, Trump's a big winner. People like those long shots, right? It was no different 4 years ago that Trump. All the books are exposed on Trump because he was such a long shot. I mean, our biggest exposure right now, we're not too worried. Even though I'd love another $1,000 a month for 4 years, is Yang. He is far and away our biggest exposure. We're in the red big on him. So, look who people are putting the money on. When you factor in those future, it's kind of like, the Cleveland Browns. Like every year we're exposing the Cleveland Browns early on in Super Bowl. People just love those large odds. So you got to kind of handle out a great assault, However, for the matchup, Trump versus the Field, yeah, we're a little bit more exposed on Trump.
Okay. Makes sense there, Dave. And appreciate you joining us. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Dave Mason BOL. And if you type in Dave as a coupon code at sportsmemo.com, it will take $15 off anything site-wide. Just DAV at checkout for any play, any season-long package, anything of that nature. $15 off sportsmemo.com. Coupon code Dave, D-A-V-E. Dave Mason from Bet Online. On Twitter at Dave Mason BOL. Dave, is there anything else you wanted to throw out there to any of the listeners before we shut this down?
Oh yeah, what's up next is basketball, especially March Madness. We're gonna have $100,000 March Madness bracket. The entry fee is gonna be $15, but for limited time only, you can reserve your entry for just $10. Again, that's $100,000 guaranteed cash in our March Madness bracket this year. Go enter for $10 now.
Dave, appreciate the time, buddy. All the best of luck to you. Hopefully you lose a little bit more this Super Bowl weekend and put some cash in some of the bettors' pockets out there. But, Dave, appreciate the time. Best of luck to you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We will be back on Monday. Have a fun, safe weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl.